One of the greatest sitcoms in the history of television, in my opinion, Married with Children, produced no less than 3 attempts at a spin-off. Radio Free Tremaine, focused around Bud Bundy at college. Enemies, which was also a parody of Friends, focused around Kelly Bundy and her circle of frenemies. And Top of the Heap, starring Matt LeBlanc and others, that actually became Vinnie and Bobby also.
Father had an opportunity to sell that stupid dog of yours, Bud.
Oh, no. My stupid brother is Bud. My stupid dog is Buck.
Oh, sorry.
This was really the thing that made Matt LeBlanc, and I don't think you could have had the phenomenon that Friends became later without his appearances on Married with Children. He originally appeared as one of Kelly's many boyfriends. The unique shtick was that he was every bit as dumb as her, although actually probably dumber was sort of the challenge. This led into meeting his father, Charlie Verducci, who was an old friend of Al's, and Peg had no use for him. And we ended up getting Top of the Heap, the spinoff, Charlie Verducci and his son Vinnie, and the whole Verducci master plan. The show was meant to focus around Dad's attempts to get his son to marry into money using his good looks to bring wealth into the family. It seemed in a lot of ways to have been an attempt to draw on that fame that Married with Children already had. It was infamous. It was groundbreaking. It would be ripped off shamelessly by Roseanne Barr. Get me started on that. And the larger, what were at the time, the more successful and well-known networks would basically steal the concepts and then go on to be bragging about how innovative and new that it was when it was all stolen. But Top of the Heap was one of the attempts to draw on the fame of Married with Children as it was emerging and bringing something more to the Fox network. It does appear that in many ways they were trying to do it more cheaply. Married with Children had sort of an ensemble cast, and when you've got 4 members of the family, the 2 next door neighbors, co-workers at work, that ends up becoming something that is costly. And so Top of the Heap, we began with Charlie Verducci and Vinnie Verducci, his son. And there is Mona, played by Joey Lauren Adams, who had been on Married with Children in a few roles, but would stay on as Mona from there to be Mona here, and would be Mona in the next series, Vinnie and Bobby also. And so there would be added some minor characters here and there, but that they were easily replaceable, and were focused around a much smaller core group of people. It was funny, but it just didn't really work. I watched the episodes that existed of it, and it just wasn't, there was nothing about it. It wasn't as good as Married with Children. It tried to be a spinoff of that, but it clearly was not either trying to be exactly that or do it as well. It was a little bit more mild in its approach to humor, and it just doesn't really quite work. It ended up being moved to completely redefined. We got a second set of episodes as Vinnie and Bobby. Bobby is suddenly introduced out of nowhere as a roommate best friend. Joey Lauren Adams is still there as Mona, and the setting continues to change. More minor characters are brought in, but it also just doesn't work. Matt LeBlanc, it's crazy to think of. The 2 things that made Matt LeBlanc were his good looks and his ability to play somebody really stupid. And you really couldn't have the career he ended up having. You couldn't have ended up having Friends without having the appearances on Married with Children, Top of the Heap, and Vinnie and Bobby. Because really Matt LeBlanc carried that character over, where the name changed and he wasn't quite as stupid as Joey in Friends, but nevertheless, it was essentially the same shtick. And that was really what it needed. You see, being with his dad, Charlie Verducci, and just Mona next door and the master plan of marrying a rich woman, there just wasn't enough going on around him for him as this character of Vinnie to carry the whole show. You couldn't really look to him as the hero. Whereas things like Married with Children, having the smart child, the dumb child, the dateless child, the oversexed child, the dynamic of Al and Peg, you have more people involved, but you have a broader formula from which to draw. And it just wasn't enough for Matt LeBlanc to carry the show. In fact, the thing that really stands out when it becomes Vinnie and Bobby is the amount of women screaming in the audience. I mean, really, it is quite distracting at times because the men in the show are both playing the same role of the good-looking guy that's kind of stupid. And so the formula, again, doesn't work because there's not enough diversity. The two of them play off one another, but there's not enough diversity of personality and type in it. There's no real straight man like Newhart to receive the jokes. They're just too much alike. It's like they moved from, getting rid of Charlie Verducci, the father, to adding a best friend that is just another Vinnie. And so you've got two guys playing the same role, and it also doesn't work. Just like Top of the Heap, it's okay, it has its moments, but it's just not quite there. But it would lead on, as I said, to Matt LeBlanc would go on to be the exact same character under a different name in Friends, and having that larger ensemble cast of all of those different friends and their different personalities, different problems, different walks of life, and fields of interest, areas of interest, that it would play off perfectly for Matt LeBlanc to be in it as the aspiring actor, oddly enough, the good-looking guy who's really, really dumb, not quite as dumb as Vinnie Verducci, but dumb enough. But really, it's looking back on it, Married with Children was this unique thing that had all this potential, and it's just natural that you would try to do some spin-offs from it, and it's really unfortunate that none of them really worked. But Top of the Heap and Vinnie and Bobby, such as they exist as 6 or 7 episodes each, you can find them on YouTube for free for the most part. They're not always very clear, a little bit blurry, but you can find the recordings. Overall, I would say the importance to television history is giving us Matt LeBlanc to be Joey and bequeathing sort of what becomes Friends, as much as it's not in my top 10 of shows because of the type of it. It's a quality show and lasted a long time and had a major impact on people. It's unfortunate that Married with Children spinoffs didn't do better, or they didn't get something better out of it. But we did get Matt LeBlanc. Joey Lauren Adams was in a lot of stuff for a while. I felt like she was underutilized in that era, but there's a time frame there where you had a lot of these up-and-coming lady stars, these females that could play these parts in these movies, and maybe there just wasn't enough space available for her. But you can check them out on YouTube, find them, watch them, love them. Let me know what you think below.
Oh, Kelly Bundy, here in person in my building. I heard the rumors in the neighborhood, but I dared not believe them true.